Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Trader Minutes. Great to have you aboard. I'm Carl, and the questions are out there. So let's just get on here. For the top three, we had Verizon, which is VZ, IBM, as in Big Blue, and WLP as WellPoint Healthcare. Right? That's top three. Panera was one of the runner-ups. Okay, Trader Girl. Panera was just one of the runner-ups. The options are very, very lightly traded on Panera. Okay. WLP. WLP. If you refresh your screens, go down to my top three. You'll see them. They're already in there. If you want to just look at them. And okay. So going into the close here, I've got a lot of stocks to take a look at. Um, let's look at our positions. About 52 cents up on Marathon. The volumes are going to be decent today. It's a good sign of a bounce coming in here. It shot up, slight pullback. I stated this earlier. This closed in a huge run today, and a just giant candle and close up today. That always makes me a little bit nervous. It'd be these great big candles. I'd like to take it in slow chunks. 50 cents here or there would be a great signal. This is likely to go higher. Stocks that move too far too fast tend to reverse harder, and maybe not hold the gains. All right, so really not bearish price action here on MRO. Just a little bit of a pullback here. And Deere has been flat all day long. It's been down most of the day. It's up slightly earlier on, but it's been down 25 to 20 cents for the last few hours. And the volume on it, and there's been a lot of people talking about the volume, is just drying up. Okay, and not necessarily bearish or bullish. Want to see this thing hold on to 84, and you get that push higher here. And we looked at this morning, and look back at it again in case you happen to miss what I talked about. You can see a little bit of a flag pattern here, right? And a flag pattern, typically, flag pennant pattern, whatever you want to call it. You could look at this two ways. A break to the downside, we'd probably exit the trade. A break to the upside here could suggest, and I'll just take from where the stock broke out at 82 to where it topped off. It's not quite 85. This black candle didn't close at the top. It closed down, so about 84.5. So 82, $2.50 move above the $84 mark where this thing breaks out is what could be expected, which is put this up towards the price target here of 87. So that's what we're looking for here is a break to the upside. If you get a day like this breaking up like that, in my opinion, just locked in 84 as a new support level and likely to run higher. And it's been in that channel, and it's holding that channel, which is good. It's not slipping back down into the channel, which it's been in for so long between that 84 and 81.50. It's not slipping back into it so far. I mean, that's what we want. The push up above the 7 would be exactly what we're looking for. With MRO, there's been questions on that we sent out a trade update on it. Some of the members jumped out on that update. Watch for, as far as an entrance right here, I'd use 36 as a stop. I'd go December's. We're not going to stay in it. We're not planning on staying in this no way till December expiration. All right, so I'd use December's and use 36 as a stop. I'd go at this point probably 2 strikes in the money. About 3 weeks left till expiration. A couple strikes in the money, and we get this bounce out of here. You got a lesser risk ratio than we've got right now, so I couldn't argue an entrance right here. December's, I'd go about 2 strikes in the money. Yeah, speaking, I've got some relatives that are farmers, and yeah, I mean what they'll do is buy their rigs. Now they're in the southern part of the U.S., so it's not quite as cool uh, down that way. But they've bought tractors around this. I don't know the best time of years to buy tractors, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to buy them and get them broke in before the new season. Just having a little fun with Deere. Again, the deer's just flat. It's just hanging here on holding. Okay. All right. So yes, we're going to hold our two positions tonight on MRO and John Deere. They're both MRO. Yeah, MRO. Positive sign. It's going to probably finish up 50 cents today, which is good. I think it's a bullish action here. Not trying to make it all back at one time. And a little bit of patience as on the move higher here with John Deere just flat and still holding on to 84. So we're going to hold that. And we're looking for that push up off 84, and hopefully that's going to happen here in the next day or two. Okay, so with Nucor Steel, with this action right here slipping below it's been down quite a bit, just running down below the 7-day moving average, and today it's pushing below the 50-day moving average as well. Pretty bearish to see it break through this level. Just not too long ago, you look here, not too long ago, it hit the level, kind of a higher support level is what it held about that time. Now pushing off, and you can see, is it a big level with the 50-day? We're just looking very, very short term here, but it's okay. As far as support / resistance on the 50, it's breaking it today. The volumes on it, they're not real high, but they're not a lot of volume out there in the market today. If you notice the volumes, they're pretty low almost everywhere. But that's pretty bearish action. I wouldn't be surprised to see it retest this $51 mark, closing down 50. But if I was in puts on this, I'd still stay in. With this action right here, there's no signs of this suddenly reversing. Knock on wood that there's no news, good news out there on it. With USO, so it's been a pretty intense downtrend here for the last little while. There's some slight divergences taking place as far as indicators. I wouldn't read into them too much yet. The MACD slightly rising. It's just off your screen right there. For this, it's been in this mode. The descending triangle. Could call it a wedge maybe. Whichever way this breaks back down below it, below just under the 30, just above the 33.5 mark is where that support level's been for it. Break back down lower, it'd be ultra bearish. It's trying to top the 7 today. To get bullish on it, I'm not there. No way. After this big fall that it's had right here, what you want to watch for here is to see how the next, if it starts to come up, set a higher high, then a higher low. This might give you a better entrance, or even the second one, if there's a second higher low here, would confirm that, okay, the bottom's in here and it's likely to start going up. Right here and now, as far as trying to get bullish on it, it's way too early. You can see we had very similar, well, you can see how this ran back up here, the old bear trap, kind of slammed shut. But this has been holding the level pretty nice, so maybe there's a bottom in here. I would just get more, I'd need more confirmation before I got overly bullish on it. Yeah, with the financial bull. Yeah, I noticed the financials turned around today, and this is just kind of showing it. But it just coming back to retest that 7. There is a gravestone there. It's not towards a high. It's more of a just kind of going in sideways mode here, so it's not all that reliable. It might pull back here. A break below the 7, I'd wait to see if it got it. Push up above off 84 would be ultra bullish for it. And would trigger a vibe bull entry. You got all the averages rising. I'd watch this $84 mark and see if it holds. If it can hold and a push higher, it'd be a vibe bull signal. If it starts to break down below it, it's too early to call bearish on it, just because these little pullbacks lately have just been bought back up. So I'd just watch it. I wouldn't do anything right here today. Yeah, I'd watch this push up off of 84. If you get a push up off of 84 in the 7 right here, I'd put this up into the 88. I think you're right on line there, Snippa. 88 to $90 range. If you get that push up off of this level right here. Oh, okay. IBM. Now, IBM was one of my top three today. Now, this is a Vibe Bear entrance. Okay, so I got the vibe here. You know, it's all three of the averages. Got indicators sloping down. You can see a fresh, all the averages right here, downtrending. Today it went up to the 180 point, and the 7-day moving average fell back off of it, pushed down lower off of that. Vibe bear signal. Okay, and the other thing that I noted here was the 180 mark. You know, a big round number. Stocks tend to like these round numbers. Well, it pushed below it last Monday. Okay, came back up to it and tested that. Not only did it Wednesday and Friday, but today pushing back off of 7 and down off the 180 mark. This is suggesting that 180s just got locked in as a new resistance point. This thing's likely to run down to the 175, even lower. I could see this dropping maybe even to 172.5. But early price target I'd be looking at is 175 on this. More aggressive down to the 172.5 mark. I'd watch it around the 175. It got a nice profit. And the slightest little bit of strength, I'd probably get out. But yeah, that's I like IBM. Made my top three. Okay, with Merck and Company. Very bullish chart. Try to get all this in here for you. Okay, you're not getting a MACD. We got an uptrending MACD. We got a stock. I chuckle because these bullish setups they just keep happening, right? You see a huge run up, and every time it gets away from the 7, what does it do? Well, it consolidates back to it. Very bullish consolidation, what we saw at this point. How it just gets way above the 7, just kind of goes sideways, hits the 7 again, and it's off and running on those move higher. Well, same thing here. It didn't get too close to the 7. It tested it on Friday. Friday, I'm not telling you that was the day to enter. It's half a day basically trading, not a lot of volume. But today's very bullish price action, breaking up through the $50 mark. Let me zoom out here. Yeah, it's very bullish price action. I wouldn't be surprised to see it if it keeps going, but consolidate a little bit above the $50 mark. But if I was in calls, I'd just be happy to stay into the trade tonight for sure. As far as an entrance, use the 7 as a stop. Couldn't argue an entrance here. Not really chasing it too bad, but this is a very bullish setup. It could keep running. Okay, with one of the other top threes I have was Verizon, and this was a trend rider bear signal. Weekly is a little bit aggressive for my book, but this thing starts falling, it can pay off, but it's gonna have to fall for you pretty quick here. And let's see, you're buying the but see this thing, you ride it with a lower Bollinger Band here, price target right around to the 48, or just stay in it as long as it stays in the band. This has been the underperformer of the group. So with Verizon, I would go personally. I'd go to December, about 3 weeks out. Is where I'd be looking. 2 strikes in the money at this point. I hear you, AK. Got some of our members here that have called the Carl Challenge, and they're just trading my top 3 in a virtual account, as far as I know. Yeah, you're right, Martin. You're right. Martin's saying the December 20 puts are quite cheap. Yep, I would agree. The other top three today was WellPoint, and again, this is a bull vibe signal. So I bring in the vibe, and all the vibe is, if you have a membership at Stock Charts, you can put everything on. If you don't, leave out one of the moving averages. You can't put in 4 moving averages, but it's just a 50-day, a 100-day, and a 200-day moving average. Of course, a 7-day moving average, which you're going to see on all of our charts. We have what's called a rate of change, which is rising in this case. It's up above 0 and rising. Good indication. We throw a MACD on there. We're not trusting. We don't really play MACD crossovers. Sure, it can add a little bit to it, but we're mainly watching the trends. An upward trending MACD above 0 is bullish on stocks. And so, this one I think could push up towards the $96 range. The volume's not going to be too bad today, and again, you don't necessarily need it. It's had a lot of volume moving up to this point. This is a very bullish setup as it's rising up and went below the 7 today, pushing it back above it with all the averages rising. That's what you're looking for. Okay, let's look at Facebook. Basic doing some consolidating here up above the $46 mark. It did not want to go below 46, just kind of holding the level, right? No trade there, but so with MJN, this is Mead Johnson Nutrition. This was one of my top threes from last Tuesday. It's still holding the 7. I would watch this. I'd stay in it unless it broke down below the 7. I would see that's pushing up above the 85 mark here. Volume's a little bit light, but all you're going to need here is a push above the 85 mark, and it's going to trigger yet another bull vibe entrance at this point, because a push higher from here, it's going to close just barely above the 7. Really, a push higher from this level would trigger another bull vibe signal. So if I was in this on calls, I wouldn't get out. I'd watch this till tomorrow. If it looked like it was going to close below, if it gapped below 84 tomorrow and didn't reverse, it would be pretty bearish, or it closed below the 7, I'd get out. But at this point, it's not closing below the 7. Okay. One stock that we don't trade it, we'll look at it. This is Krispy Kreme, and this triggered a couple the TrendRider bull signals here recently. It's done okay, but threatening a break to the downside. It's not there. It is below some support there at 25, which it's been holding on to for about a month now. But I would need that to close in that lower band. You can see the bands are still contracting. I need this to start expanding and the price to go back in it at this point, because what can happen right here if you just decide to get bearish because it broke 25, what can happen in a lot of cases is it can fool you. It can do a head fake, right? Looks like it's going to go down, and now it hits the lower band, and sometimes when they hit that lower band, they'll go right to the upper band. Not all in one shot. So I would hesitate here to go short on it unless I did see this fall into that lower band and the band start expanding. At this point, it's too early to call. Yeah, it does look bearish, but a little bit too early to call in my opinion. Paul, we typically just, it's about what we got on here, about 6 months, 7 months. Just the average setting that it comes up when we're here at Stock Charts. We just use Stock Charts. You can do almost everything we do on a free account. We don't have any type of affiliation with Stock Charts, so we're not trying to push them. It's just what we really like. We put the size on landscape, and that gives about 7 months. All right. As far as the indicators and overlays on the 7, we always put a simple 7-day moving average, and the different types of setups that we have, we'll put in different indicators and so forth. There is a training. If you go up into the Options Education Week on our site, which is just above the chat window, click on that. You'll see the very, very last video at the bottom of that list is on Vibe and TrendRider signals, and it talks about the setups and how we use those and the entries. That's what my top 3 is based on, is bull signal, Vibe and the TrendRider signals that are triggering on certain days. Now, as I say in that video, I try to put more into these signals. Like we were just looking at IBM, right? IBM, this is a vibe bull signal, and there's a lot of vibe bulls out there that I could have chosen from today, but this one was in the top 3 because of the other factors that I looked at as well, right? You got all the averages rising. You see how this broke through a pretty, a decent level of support / resistance, a big number. It came back, retested the level, pushing back below it today, pushing off the 7. To me, that just added more. There's no sure thing in the marketplace, right? There's even an indicator called no sure thing. There's not a sure thing in the market, but what this does is put the odds in the favor of the bears right here, that this is likely to run lower. Okay, so the odds are in our favor right there that this is going to go down. Max, no, we're not talking an all or nothing. It's with DE, yeah, it's one of our lighter trades of the two. We're not talking all or nothing. We're gonna definitely go over there and take another look at Deere. It's still holding 84. Most likely, I would think tomorrow it's going to show us what we're doing here. A push higher off of 84 would lock 80, and this is coming from me, would lock 84 in as a new support level, which is out of the channel that it's been in here since July. That's one of the longest channels out there, which would be very bullish for this. If it starts to break 84, then we're going to cut it. Okay. Yeah, ConocoPhillips. Okay, now when I'm looking at ConocoPhillips, I've been watching this one looking for a breakout for a trend rider. Now, okay, so there's some pretty nice things here, but it's not a trend rider yet. I'll pop out right there, and you can see the indicators here. The bands are starting to expand. I wouldn't call it yet. We do have what they call a bearish engulfing candle pattern here, and you can see the RSI breaking through 50 just slightly. I mean, it's just really kind of going flat. What I would do here, because you notice this is one of those channeling stocks, 74 to just above 72. It's got to break below that lower channel right there and enter that lower band. If it does that, it'll probably make my top 3. But right here, right now, I'm not going to trust a bearish engulfing. It might work. We could anticipate this move to the downside here, but a little bit more confirmation. I don't think we'd be chasing it if we looked at this tomorrow sometime. But that's what I'd want, a little bit more confirmation. But it's a good looking bearish engulfing pattern. And all that is where you see, a big red candle that's larger than the prior day's hollow candle. It doesn't always have to be hollow either. And remember, Friday also was a partial day. But it's a good looking bearish engulfing pattern. I just want a little bit more confirmation that 70, that lower level of support that it's been on now for about a month is going to break. That's what I'd be looking for there. Yeah, let's check out Walmart. It's been performing better than a lot of the other ones out there. So yeah, it's a very bullish candlestick. We got a stock in an uptrend. This, you'd call that a red hollow. You only find these here at stock charts. And red hollows, they suggest strength. They're not very accurate, but they're good to see in a stock that's in an uptrend, had a little bit of a pullback. What it basically means is the gap down has run higher during the day, but still it's closing at a lower price than the day before. But that's a nice looking turnaround right here for Walmart. If I was in calls on this, I wouldn't be going anywhere. I just use that 7 as a stop unless you get a nice gain, you want to take it. With Bank of New York Mellon, yeah, I would get out. It's closing below the 7. I'd get out. It could run higher, but it's one of those deals that it could roll over. That's what I'd do. And that even had a little gravestone on it, but didn't do a whole lot. Just kind of hovered right around that same area, but today it's pushing back below it. There's no big divergences here on any of the indicators, but that's what I do. Just watch it close back below it. When it closes back above it, it would give you another signal there to enter. If I bring in the vibe, you see all the major averages is up. So if you happen to exit here and it close back below it, when it closes back above it, if it does, then that would trigger a bull vibe entry. With Verizon, I would go 2 strikes in the money. I'd go December's. I wouldn't stay in this trade too long. I'm bearish on it. It's likely to come down to the 48 range. You could write it with a lower Bollinger Band as well, as long as it closes inside the low. Within the lower Bollinger Band here, you could stay in the trade. But no, you're not going to be in this thing for 3 weeks. I'd go December. A little bit more risk going December than January, but with a little bit more risk comes larger gains, more reward, right? Yeah, if you go to January, play it a little bit safer. You're still going to get some gains. It's not going to pay you quite as much, but that's going to be the difference between December's and January's. I'd go December's and just watch it. I'd put a stop on today's high, just above 49.5 there. The high is 49.70. I'd put my stop there, close above that, get out. If it keeps going down, I'd probably move my stop down a little bit and just ride it with a lower band. But initially, yeah, the stop on today's high. Okay, so with KRE, right, kind of looking like the Bank of New York Mellon, same type of area. We've got an ETF here. Looks like the financials have rolled over a little bit. So this is, looking at this technically, it's come up to a big number of 40. It's pushing back off of it. It's not ultra bearish. 2 little down days on a huge run like that. This would be one of those. If it closed right here, I'd hold it. If it broke 39.5, I'd get out tomorrow. But if this can hold this level and push back up off the 7 within the next day or 2 to 3 days, it's likely to run back up through 40. But that's what I'd watch. I'd watch 39.5. Just it's practically right there on it, and that's where I'd look. AAR Corp. Okay, so this is pushing down below the 7. If I was bullish on this, I would get out. We've got 10 minutes left to the close. It's not coming back. What it's doing, you can look at it this way too. It's retesting 30. That's a pretty sharp candlestick on a retest. I'd rather it kind of come back a little bit at a time. The volumes are okay today. If I was in a bullish, I'd get out. I wouldn't hang around to see what happens here on it. No type of an entry right here. It's way too early for puts. If I'm looking to get bearish on it, it's way too early for that. It's just a day. We're coming back to the 30. Yeah. Yeah, so with WellPoint Health, a dividend on the 5th, right, later this week. Jeff just did a training on this last week. Let's listen to that training. A lot of that's going to be priced in to the options. It can help things out. This is a pretty bullish looking setup, but I wouldn't be too worried about a dividend later in the week. I'd watch this thing and put the stop on today's, basically the open at 93, and see where it takes us. This is a bull vibe entry, bull vibe signal. Okay, hasn't really sold off much. It's got some decent volumes. It looks to push through the 94. That's what I'd watch. I'd put a stop at 93. And the 7's a little bit close. That's why I say 93. Just barely underneath it. Closes below there, get out. It keeps running, and I'd stay in the trade. And then, now on my notes, you notice I put, it's just a stop on the 7. Okay, so that stop on the 7 could be get out with your loss, or it could be you got a gain and it closes below the 7, get out then. Pretty simple. All right, so that's what I'd be looking for WellPoint. With Yelp, still below the 7. Yeah, it did recapture the 100-day. Now, the 100-day moving average isn't any, it's not one of the more well-known support slash resistance levels. I wouldn't be too worried about the 100-day. If I was bearish, I'd stay in. It's still below the 7. It's off the lows for the day, but watch that 7. If tomorrow it starts pushing up above 60, don't get overly scared on it. But just watch it by the end of the day. If it closes back below 60 tomorrow, this thing's going to fall for you. But that's what I'd do. I'd hold it and just watch it tomorrow. And they're not. I mean, the 7's what, maybe a buck higher than where we're at right here. It wouldn't be that much at risk at all. Yeah, I mean, there's no changes on the indicator. Everything's still showing weakness here. Okay, SPG, Simon's Property Group. All right, so I've got the vibe here. Let me bring in the trend rider. Look at it that way. Now, it's not a trend rider. Oops, not that vibe. This one. All right, so what we've done here, let's take a look. So it's been downtrending a little bit. You know, there's a little bit of support right through here. Yeah, a little bit higher than where that line is right there. So it dropped through 150, went back up above 150, hit the 50-day average, a lot of 50s here. Today pushing back through 150. All right, it's pretty bearish. I mean, there's better setups out there. The averages, they're all falling right here. It's a good looking bearish setup. They're just better bearish setups out there. In my book, just there's better ones out there. But if I was in puts here, I wouldn't go anywhere. It's likely to come down a little bit lower from where it's at. Down to the 145 maybe. It's got to get through just pretty much where it's at is where I'd look for it to break a little bit lower. But yeah, the better setups out there. But it's a nice looking setup. That makes sense when I say better setups. I mean, because if I go over to IBM and some of the top 3, we've got all the indicators, all the averages, everything telling us, hey, this is likely to happen, versus going back here to Simon Property. Yeah, there's everything downtrending, but they don't have the really clear signals that we have from the ones there in the top 3. So with John Deere, yeah, it's right back here. It's close here 2 other times. Yeah, it did sell off here in the last little bit. I got about 7 minutes to the close. It sold off here the last little bit. We're going to be watching this in the morning. We can't make a change really at this point. We need at least 20 minutes before we get out of a trade right here. But really, it's just right at that same point. If it goes low in the morning, we're going to exit in the morning. Okay, I wouldn't think we'd be risking too much. And notice the volumes again. They are so light. So no, we're going to hang on. And again, if it starts to run lower in the morning, probably not within the first hour, but we're going to watch these trades very closely. Believe me, we've got a close eye on these things. So here, looks like it's going to close up about 40 cents on Marathon. Really got the indicators. They're still rising. I want this to hold. If not, we're going to get out. We're not going to stay in this too much longer. If it doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere, the longer we sit there, the more it not going to do much for us. So let's hope that this thing keeps pushing higher tomorrow and take some baby steps out of here, which would be very bullish for the position. Okay. So yeah, no, we're not going anywhere. It's too late in the day for us. And this one still looks fine, MRO. Decent price action today. Home Depot. Yeah, I was looking at Home Depot and Lowe's. Let me bring in the trend rider. Let me look at Lowe's. See, Lowe's, out of the two, Lowe's, it's not a trend rider, anything like that, but look at Lowe's. So right, it's got a bad earnings, went sideways, which would be bearish consolidation since it's just kind of going sideways. Push back lower off the 7 today, pretty strong. Very bearish price action. Even it looks it's going to close below 47 here. This could take this down near the $45 range on Lowe's. Wouldn't be chasing it. The 7's just right there along with it. It's not a vibe or a trend rider, but that's very bearish candle action right there. Go over to Home Depot. It's breaking through 80. You notice it just kind of doing this. It shot up above it. Now it's falling pretty hard off of it. See, the Home Depot, the Lowe's setup looks a little bit better to me than this. Just, here we have a few days up and now it's falling. The Lowe's kind of going sideways, another big push down off the 7. Just puts the odds a little bit more in the favor. And they could both fall down through this range. Honeywell, closing below the 7 today. Holding on to 88 here. Let me zoom in. Let me take a look at this. So with Honeywell, it had some resistance right there at 88. It broke it over, about a week ago last Friday. It broke it, coming back to retest it. 88, that's going to be the mark. It's closing below the 7, but if 88 can hold, you could see another push higher off here. It's likely to go higher. The indicators aren't giving much indication. RSI here just flat. Not really doing much today. Let me bring in a MACD. Pretty flat as well. They're not doing much here. It's closing below it. I'd give it 88. If it went below 88, I'd get out. But if it comes back above 88, you got another a bull vibe signal going on. Yeah, I agree, AK. I'd love to see some follow through on this Verizon here, which would be a trend rider bear. And you look down below it, it's breaking down. It tried to hold 50 for a while and just kept pushing back off of it. Now in the lower Bollinger Band. Would love to see this get down into the $48 range here by the end of the week. I'm not saying it's going to fall right to it. It's nice when they do, but they don't always seem to move in my time frame. I want things to happen right here and right then, right? But no, over the years you got to develop some patience and let the trade try to work. And so let this try to get down into that range. Yeah, right now the setup looks good. Well, last time it got into the 7, into the lower Bollinger Band. Look at the last times it got in the lower Bollinger Band here. There's been follow through in the lower Bollinger Band. The 2 times this year it's gotten into it. Now we're getting into it again. If it's like one of these 2 times right here, the last couple times, it's got a ways to go. So yeah, watch it. Okay. All right, let's take a look at FCX, and then we'll call it a day. Yeah, FCX top 3 from last Wednesday, and still running that lower Bollinger Band. I just stay in the trade till it closes back inside the band. This is a good price action. Everything's still pointing lower on this. Down to around to 33 really is the next decent level of support for it, but this could be one of those trades. Just ride it with that lower Bollinger Band there, and when it closes back up above the band, then take it. But right now, this still looks fine. With IBM, yeah, the ding ding dings. With IBM, what it did, it broke through 180 a while back, come up to 180, and it's pushing back below it. So it's already retested 180 and dropped below it. that suggests it just locked in 180 as a new resistance level. So that's what I was talking about with IBM. Okay, yeah, this ran down to that lower Bollinger Band would be fantastic to see, but right now it's a bear vibe entrance and looks to run lower. So I bring in the vibe, you see all the averages pointing down. You got a bearish MACD signal. We could look at all kinds of things in here, but right now, just the very, very simple things look like it's going to run down. KRE, just right on the 7. Uh, it ran down a little bit. Yeah, the volumes are light. Overall, things still rising here for KRE. If you get a push up tomorrow, if it starts to run back down below 39.5, then I'd get nervous. I'd get out. But if this can hold and push back up through the 7-day moving average, you still got some things going. It's likely to break up through 40. I mean, it's a partial day of trade on Friday where it was down probably a few cents, and then today it's down 39 cents. On a run like that is really not too much. Yeah, it's very common on uptrends to see stocks like that. But I'd watch 39.5, breaks that out. If it can hold it and run higher, you're off and running. Okay. Okay, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. With DE, well, yeah, we're still in that same pattern. The flag, pennant, whatever you want to call it here. And this can go either direction. If 84 holds, this is suggesting about another $2.50 move higher from there, $2.50 to $3. If it starts dropping below it, then yeah, we're getting out. Okay, but so far it's still right up there. It's not dropping down into that channel. If it does, then time to get really concerned. But right now, it's still right there, just right on it. Okay. It's right there, right there. I mean, we've been at this level a couple other times last week, just right there at 84. Remember, it's more of a range. It's not 84.00. It's right around a range, and you can see its range just slightly under. Yeah, we're still below the 7, but if it does start to break that, we're out. We want this thing to push higher. That's what we're after here. Yeah, just a range. When I hear me say 80, support at 90 or support at 84 or support at 80, it's right around that number. It's not the exact number to the cents. It's right around it. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you. I'll be back again tomorrow morning, usual times, and we'll talk to you then. Thanks. Bye bye. Have a great night, everybody.